Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, Books and Graphics a la Saber. I'm Saber. Today I am doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I think I'm saying that right. I'm new, don't judge me. The mid-year book freakout tag is how you say it. And so I'm just gonna get to it. But before I start, I do want to apologize for the fan noise that you can hear in the background. Me and my boyfriend have 3 cats and they love attention and they like to meow and bang on doors to get attention. So I have fans set up to deter them from meowing and bang bang banging on the door. So I apologize for that noise if it does bother you. But I'm now going to get to the questions. I'm so excited for this tag. I've watched a few videos to kind of see how to do it and to get some of the questions. So it just seems so cool. Answer questions about books. What booktuber wouldn't love that? So, okay. So the first question is the best book of 2020. I could not just pick one. I picked 3. The first one is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson, which I've mentioned in a few of my other videos, and that is this one. And again, I got that for free from orientation at the library. I absolutely loved that book. It is a autobiography by Jacqueline Woodson, wrote in verse. I always said prose. I don't know which term is correct. I've heard both, I swear. So it's written in verse, I think is the correct way to say it. But it's just very beautifully written. Her poetry is gorgeous. And so I highly recommend reading that book if you haven't read it. It is a middle grade book. And yeah, you should check it out if you haven't read it. Again, that is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. The next on my list is the Locke and Key series. All of them. I believe there's 6 of them. There's 6 or 7 in the main series by Joe Hill, and it is illustrated by Gabriel Rodriquez. And I just devoured that graphic novel. I tried to watch the series that started on Netflix, which is how I got into the book, and trash. I did not like it. I maybe got halfway through and they changed quite a bit, which was fine. It was still pretty cool. But once I finished the books, I realized that some of the big things that they changed were never in the books. Very opening scene of the show, that's not in the book. Not at all. Not that I can remember anyways. It's a fire key. They just made up keys for the show. That kind of annoyed me. I was like, okay, no, it's fine. Not just that key. They made up other keys. And I'm like, there are several keys in the books. Why? Why? Why'd you have to do that? Why did you have to ruin something perfectly good? Why couldn't you have the head just open with the head key? Why'd you have to make other things? They had pictures for you. It is a graphic novel that is beautifully drawn. It's graphic. They put the graphic in a graphic novel. And I don't mean that for sexual graphic. I mean it's bloody and violent in some parts. It is very it is meant for teens and adults. And they made the show very kiddie. But I absolutely love the books. I will probably buy them and read them over and over and over. It's definitely my favorite read of 2020. And the next one is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I listened to this on audiobook and it is read by him, and he's not the best narrator, as far as changing his voices. He's not a voice actor. He's a good narrator as far as reading the book, how it is supposed to be read, and I loved how he read the book. But it was kind of hard sometimes when he's switching characters. I was like, which character is he? Because he's not a voice actor. He doesn't change his voices, which is to be expected. But his audiobook is really good. And I got this as a gift for my birthday. And I plan to read this next month in July. It is such a good book. And he is one of my favorite authors now. Not I don't have any favorite authors, but he's cute. So, and his writing is just beautiful. I devoured this book just like I devoured the other two that I mentioned, but I'm not going to gush over him and his writing. I'm going to go to the next question, which is favorite sequel. I haven't really read many series. I try not to read series. I was reading a little bit of the rereading the Harry Potter series. I was reading Food Wars, love Food Wars, and then I've been reading the Akata Witch. So, Akata Warrior by Nnedi Okorafor. I hope I'm saying her first name right. Nnedi Okorafor. Nnedi Okorafor was my favorite sequel. I listened to both of those on audiobook for a reading challenge that we had at work, and the narrator is amazing. Nnedi's writing is great. I loved the world she created. I could picture it. It's such a beautiful book. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend Akata Witch and Akata Warrior. Akata Witch is the first one, and Akata Warrior is the sequel. Sunny is a character who is albino, and she finds out that she is a leopard person. And in Nigeria, leopard person is basically a witch. That's just not the term that they use, and she has powers. And the second book is the sequel, and I can't go into it a whole lot without, ruining the first one. So I highly recommend reading it. It's just so good. I just love it. And I love magic, so I just love it. Okay. Number 3, new release I haven't read but want to. I kind of had to look at my TBR on Goodreads, because what I originally wrote down for this was Cinderella is Dead, but that technically is for the latter half of the year because it doesn't come out till July 7th. So I was like, oh shoot, I got what's already come out this year that I want to read. And I found that I forgot I put it in my list is, Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. And I'm going to grab my laptop so I can read the synopsis, because my memory is not always the best, and I just read it, but I don't remember it all. So, forgive me. Anyways, Echo Brown is a wizard from the east side, where apartments are small and parents suffer addictions to the White Rocks. Yet there is magic everywhere. New portals begin to open when Echo transfers to the rich school on the west side, and an insightful teacher becomes a pivotal mentor. Each day, Echo travels between two worlds, leaving her brothers, her friends, and a piece of herself on the east side. There are dangers to leave behind, the place that made you. Echo soon realizes there is a pain following through everyone around her, and a black veil of depression threatens to undo everything she's worked for. So, I am really excited to read that book. I hope my library has it. I don't see why they wouldn't. Excuse me, my eye itches. I don't see why my library wouldn't have the book. I will probably check it out and either read it this next month and put it on the Family Affair bingo board for the Pop Culture Readathon, if I have the time to do that one, because I'm doing 2 other readathons. Or I'll just, read it if I have the time, whenever I have the time. Next question is the most anticipated book for the second half. So I already mentioned it, but one of the books is Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron, which I've already pre-ordered, and it should be here sometime this next month, and I am definitely going to read that one as soon as I get it. And then the next one that I am so excited for, it comes out in September, is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, which I have also already pre-ordered. I don't want to go into either of those too much because I did talk about them in another video, but just a brief recap about them. Cinderella is Dead is set 200 years after Cinderella has died, and it is set in a world where the kingdom has teenage girls come to a ball, and the men of the kingdom decide which one of them will be their wives, and the ones that they don't pick, they just are never heard from again. But a girl's like, nah, I'm not about that life, and she decides to run away, and she ends up in the Cinderella's mausoleum, and the story progresses from there. Grown is about a girl named Enchanted, and she has an audition, And Corey Fields, I believe his name, sees her, and he's already a very famous, legendary R&B, adult R&B singer. And Enchanted is not an adult; she is an underage girl, and he decides to help her get to stardom. But some stuff goes down in the book. There are trigger warnings for the book as far as underage stuff, underage sex with an adult male, so rape, drugs, and other things. I have not read the book, but I am basing this off of a review that I watched that Bookishrealm did, so I would highly recommend you seek out that review that she did. I will link that in the description box below so that you can see what the exact trigger warnings are. I don't want to say what the trigger warnings are for sure because I have not read the book, but she has because she got an arc. But the story is Enchanted wakes up one day and she's covered in blood and Corey's dead. So who killed Corey? But I'm really excited to get both of those books, which brings me to, I'm skipping to question 7 because, speaking about grown, my new favorite author is Tiffany D. Jackson because I read Monday's Not Coming this year. And so question 7 is your fave new author. I know she's new to me because I never read any of her books. I love a drama book, a drama like in suspense, and she's just amazing. She's my new favorite author for this year, her and Jason Reynolds. But yeah, so back to question 5, the biggest disappointment. The book that was the biggest disappointment for me was The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. I know that is an extremely popular book. That is a book that a lot of people love. That is a book that got turned into a movie. I've seen the movie. I don't remember it that well. I saw it when I was like 15 or 16, and I'm 28 now, so it's been a while. Did not like the main girl. I can't even remember her name. I tried to read that back in March for the Magical Readathon, and I had to stop reading it, pick a new book because her character just pissed me off. I don't know if that was the point of her character, but I just could not wrap my head around how she's like, oh, I love, her black caregiver, but then she just has all this internal racism, and she just pissed me off. I could not stand her character and could not stand reading it from her point of view. She just really, really annoyed me. I had posted about it in a book group that I'm in on Facebook, and people were like, oh, it gets better. And I will probably try and finish it maybe sometime in the future, but not anytime soon. But that was my biggest disappointment because I was like, oh, yeah, I think I remember loving this movie, and I remember Queen Latifah being in it, and I really like Queen Latifah. And while I don't remember a whole lot about the book, I remembered the cast. And I thought I remembered liking it because I put the book in my TBR right after I saw the movie. But it was my biggest disappointment because I was super excited and it just annoyed me and pissed me off. So that was my biggest disappointment. The next one is biggest surprise. And my biggest surprise book is Imaginary Friend by Chbosky. So I'm still listening to this book. I'm listening to it on audiobook. I have got 18 hours and some odd minutes still left in it. So you're probably wondering, well, Saber, why is that your biggest surprise if you haven't finished it? And it is my biggest surprise because it is so different from The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I know that authors can write different types of books, but I am just so used to authors generally sticking to the same type of book in the same genre. Like, James Paterson, he tends to write, well, he's probably, I'm not going to use him as an example because he has, buku ghostwriters. But, Sarah Dessen, for example, she writes teen romance books. All of her books have a romance element. And, so do other authors. They generally tend to stick to similar genres and stuff. This book is just way different. I don't expect books to be exactly the same, and I'm not, this is not a disappointment surprise. I am thoroughly thoroughly enjoying Imaginary Friend. I am loving it, and the narrator is amazing. It is just a complete 180. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is like a total teenage drama and coming of age. It like broke my heart and made me happy all in the same page. And the reveal at the end, oh, and it got made into a really good movie. And I remember reading it and I just loved it. And I expected him to write something maybe similar to that, and like maybe write another drama. But this is not that. It's fantasy. It's suspenseful. It's got some mystery and suspense in there. I don't know if fantasy is the right word. I'm not going to say fantasy. It has got some suspense, and it's just a very interesting book. A 6-year-old boy, he goes missing for 6 days, and a bunch of things happen when he is after he's found. And it's pretty much the premise of the book. And like a bunch of good things happen and some not so good things happen. But it's really weird. It has a very Stephen King vibe. A very Stephen King vibe to it for me. Which Perks of Being a Wallflower didn't. If that is why it's a surprise for me. So, Imaginary Friend by Chbosky. I will probably read the physical copy, but I am listening to the audiobook right now, and I'm loving it so much, you guys. Whew. Just love it. Okay, I already said my new favorite author, which is Tiffany D. Jackson, so I'm going to skip that, and I am going to go to newest fictional crush. So, that's not something that I typically do, is crush on fictional characters, at least I don't think I do, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Rio Kurokaba from Food Wars, because he is just too cute. I just love how he's like half the time, and then when he cooks he's like and goes into his berserk form, and I just think he is so fine. So I just love his character, and he could cook for me anytime. So that's my newest fictional crush. And then my newest fave character, I had to think about this one because I don't pick favorite characters, but again, this is a character from Food Wars, is Erin Anakari. I just love her progression in the series, and she's a strong character, and she's kind of a bitch, and I love that about her. I love Erin. And so the next question is book that made me cry. Don't judge me, guys, because there's 3 books on this. The first one is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I listened to that on audiobook, and I cried for 45 minutes. No exaggeration. I promise you, I cried for 45 minutes listening to that book. I am not sure if I would have cried as much if I was reading it. I would have still cried. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I would have cried for 45 minutes. I kept listening to it and it was just like as I was listening to it. But if I were physically reading it, I would have been crying too hard and would have had to sit the book down because I wouldn't have been able to see. But that book tore me a new one. It just... Why, Tiffany? Why you do that to me? Why you gotta be that way? Why does the world have to be like that? Because some of the shit in this book really happens. I know it does. I know. The next book to make me cry is Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Paterson. I have seen the movie quite a few times. Cry every time. Read the book, cried for a while. And then Walk 2 Moons by Sharon Creech. I saved that one for last in this list because this was the second time I've read it. Didn't remember it. I remembered reading it my freshman year of college at community college. I went to the library, saw it, the cover looked cool. I was like, oh yeah, let me check this out. And all I remembered was... I remembered the Phoebe Winterbottom character once I read her name, and I remembered the cover, and remembered that it had something to do with moons. And I know I wanted to reread this book, but that's all I could remember. So, like, I didn't remember Phoebe Winterbottom's character until I read her name. Excuse me. But, so I was walking to leave the library, and it was on display for staff picks, and I was, it's the book that I've been thinking about for like the last 3 years, and I already had like 4 books, but I snatched that book up and checked it out, and made me cry. My boyfriend was like, how could you not remember such a big plot point in the book? And I'm like, dude, because I read this book like 10 years ago. That's how. Because it's been too long. Whew. I was like sick at the time when I read it, and he was in the bedroom, but so I think he thought I was just like blowing my nose, or he knew I was crying, because I asked him later on, why did you check on me? Because he's normally like, are you okay? But he's like, oh, I knew you were reading, or that you were just sniffling, because I'd been sick, because I was like took so many tissues. And I keep looking over there because there's a tissue box. But I kept like taking so many tissues, and like I would just cry, and then I'd stop and then keep reading, and then I cried again because something else happened. But I see why that book won the Newbery Award. Damn you, Sharon, Creech, making me cry my own tears. You, Katherine, and Tiffany. Man. But a book that made me happy is Roller Girl by Victoria Jamison. I just thought this was the cutest book ever. I have always wanted to do roller derby, and I just loved this book. Victoria Jamison is somebody who participates in roller derby herself, the author of the book. And this is a book about a girl, her and her best friend want to do 2 different things that summer. The one girl, I think she wants to go to dance camp, and then the main girl in the book wants to learn how to do roller derby. So that's what she does by lying to her mom and stuff like that. And it's just so cool. This little 11 or 12-year-old is just so BA doing her roller derby stuff, and I was just rooting for her the whole time. And it's just a very like female empowerment book, and it just warmed my heart. And even like it had like the trials and triumphs in the book, and it's just, that is a middle grade book that I would buy. I really, really, really loved this book. It's just, I loved it. I really did. It made me happy. I would read this over and over. I'm 28 years old, but I would read this book over and over. And the last one that I'm doing is The Most Beautiful. And I hope I'm saying this title right. Miss Hodja. It's a graphic novel. And the artwork in this book is so beautiful. So I'm not going to I can't open it. Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't. But let me find a good page to show you guys. It is about a college man who has epilepsy. And I just thought that point of view was beautiful. To be told from the point of view of a man who is suffering from epilepsy. So the author, who is Iasmin Omar Ata, suffers from epilepsy, or suffered. I don't know if he still has it or not. But yeah, it says, based on the author's experience as an epileptic, Miss Hodja is a boldly visual depiction of the daily struggles of living with a misunderstood condition in today's hectic and uninformed world. And the just telling of this story was really beautiful and really heartfelt, and it has stuck with me. I really want to buy this book. I specifically rechecked out this book so that I can do a full video on this book. I plan to do a full video review on Miss Hodja, and just look at that artwork. Oh, they put it right in the middle of the book. Why can't they put it in the corner like other libraries? Anyways, ignore that. Just let me find a good picture for you guys. But Isaac, that poor man, the way they depicted him having a seizure, so that is like a trigger for him when he's about to have a seizure, and I just think it's beautiful. It's just so cool. Like, just the artwork is fantastic. Ugh, such a great book. You should definitely check that out. And then the next one that I really enjoyed that was beautiful to me is Afar by Leila Del Duca, and it was illustrated by Kit Seaton. And that is this book, and all the books that I picked are graphic novels because the artwork is so beautiful, but this was different than the kind of artwork that I'm used to, and that is the reason that I picked it, because at first I was like, I don't think I really like this, but then the more I read it, I was like, what's wrong with you, Saber? This is beautiful. So there's like a picture, and I love the story. Even if it was just a regular book and not a graphic novel, I would still put this in the most beautiful category because I just love the relationship between the main character and her brother. I'm really bad with character names, so I will always say main character and whoever. But I just loved their relationship. It was very sci-fi, like there's alien stuff, which is not something that I typically read, but I just adored the artwork and I loved their relationship and their growth in the book, and that was just really beautiful to me. And then the artwork made it even more beautiful. And the last book for beautiful, I don't have it with me, but is Mooncakes by Susan Walker, and it was illustrated by Wendy Xu. I hope I'm saying her last name right. Wendy, if you're out there and you're by chance seeing this, doubtful, but I'm really sorry if I'm saying your last name wrong. Please forgive me. Okay, onto the book that you guys did. I loved this book so much. I really loved this book. This was probably my most anticipated read. It was on hold for a while. I devoured it. I read it slowly but quickly. Like, I tried to savor it so that I didn't go through it too fast, but the story was beautiful. I love that they had a trans character in the book, and I'm still not entirely sure if the grandmas were a couple or not, but I think they were, and I love that that was in there. Everything about the book was beautiful. The artwork was beautiful. The story was beautiful. The trans representation was beautiful. What I think to be the grandmothers being a lesbian couple was beautiful. The depiction of the ghost parents was beautiful. Everything about that story was so beautiful to me, and heartwarming and happy endings. That book, I could have put that book in a book that made me happy category. Actually, I did originally have that book in the book that made me happy category, but I wanted to switch it to the most beautiful because I thought that this book was just extremely gorgeous. But I'm gonna put into both. A book that made me happy, Roller Girl by Victoria Jamison, and Mooncakes by Susan Walker, and illustrated by Wendy Xu. Yeah, that's how you say it, I think. But those are just, I love all of these books. I will probably buy all of these books in time because I'm going to school this fall, and that costs money. But that was my mid-year book freakout tag. I loved all these books. You should read them all too, if they're your thing. I hope you all have a nice evening, day, morning, late night. Happy reading. Bye, guys.